Martin Akins,
Yes.
Michael Claveus,
Yes.
Charlie O'Brien,
Yes.
Russell Chin,
Yes.
John Himmel.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to, if we could, case number ZBA 2061, excuse me, 53, where am I here? 53. 224 President's Lane. Could you make a motion to withdraw without prejudice? I have a letter here from the attorney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Matter number 20-53, Ing Byrne, for a variance to construct a new single-family dwelling on the premises number 224 President's Lane. I make a motion to withdraw without prejudice.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, roll vote.
Martin Akins,
Yes.
Michael Claveus,
Yes.
Charlie O'Brien,
Yes.
Russell Chin,
Yes.
John Himmel.
Yes.
Under old business, case number ZBA 2047, new singular wireless PCS LLC, AT&T, for a special permit to install a wireless communications facility consistent of a coalition of 6 panel antennas, 2 panel antennas per sector, with associated equipment on the premises number 3 Dorchester Street. Is the applicant or their representative present?
Doesn't have a microphone. I don't know what's going on.
Someone doesn't have a microphone. That's Ed Bear.
There he goes, he's connecting.
Are you in it?
Still connecting.
Not yet. You're coming on. Come on, internet. There you go. No, still not working here. Wait a minute. 1 second.
It's on his end.
It's on your end. We got you connected, Ed. It's on your end. You got a mute button on or something?
No, it's not recognizing his.
Try to click it again, Ed. We'll give you a minute. If not, we'll get back to you. I see it starting to go, and then it's just. Yep, you're on now. You should be on.
How's this?
There you go.
Are we good?
Yep, you have the floor. Name and address for the record.
Yes, Edward Parry. I'm an attorney at Brown Rudnick, One Financial Center, Boston, Massachusetts, 02111. Spelling my name is Edward Parry, P-A-R-E. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm here representing New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, which operates as AT&T. We have entered into an agreement with the condominium association, which owns the building at 3 Dorchester Street. AT&T, as you'll see from the information we provided, has a gap in coverage from the radio frequency report that we submitted. AT&T is trying to rectify that significant gap in coverage by using this existing rooftop.
Could you keep talking into the mic? We keep losing you, going back and forth. Thanks. Sorry. Turn that up a little, maybe. There you go.
How's that? Better?
That's great. Yep.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
AT&T's typical situation in Quincy, where we're using a rooftop to co-locate antennas. In this instance, would be co-locating 6 antennas. As you mentioned in the notice, there are 3 sectors of 2 antennas each, which effectuates the 360-degree pattern for the signal. In this instance, we are proposing to place our equipment cabinets up at the center of the roof. We've supplied a set of drawings. We comply with all aspects of the zoning ordinance as provided in our application materials. You should also have some photographs and photo simulations that we did, which indicate what the view will be like once the antennas are up on the roof.
All right, if you could show those, we can let you bring them up. Do you have these on? Do you have? Huh? You're working on a computer?
Yes.
All right. He's going to give you the okay to. You should have it to share. You can show what it's going to look like. And I got a question: is I thought I read here somewhere that it's on a skid.
Yeah, there are 3, 2. Like I said, there are 3 antenna, 3 sectors of antennas, 2 antennas each. They're basically on a ballast mount. So the antennas will be attached to the mount, which comes up to get above the roof. They'll be 9 feet above the roof level. And here are the photographs and photo simulations.
Okay,
The facility is located in the center there with the yellow star. It's entitled MA2543 NSB.
Yep.
So that's the location. Then we have 4 photographs going counterclockwise from about 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Photo 1 is, I'll run through them. This is the existing view from that location at photo 1.
Yep.
And I'm scrolling.
we can't see nothing here. You're up too high.
You can't see anything?
Bring it back down so we can see the roof. Keep going. There you go. Go
Okay,
too
so that's the existing. I'm going to scroll down to the digital. This is moving very slow on my end, so
far. That's all right.
bear with me.
We will.
Oh, goodness.
No, I can't see the roof. That's all right.
Yeah, it's just moving very slow. My apologies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the view also of from that location at 1. Can everybody see that?
Now we can't
Yeah.
see the roof. There you go.
So this
Now,
is the reference.
those are on ballast.
That's correct.
They're not connected to the roof.
They're not.
Well, we ask everyone to connect all their stuff on the roof to the building frame, not to ballast. We don't allow ballast.
Okay.
So, and I thought I read that in there somewhere. It's just we don't want no big giant wind coming off and taking off some of those blocks that you have up there, the heavy blocks, and then that goes sailing down the street. So I think we need another set of drawings that's going to have something with building frame connected to the building.
Okay, I'll have to talk to the engineers about that, obviously.
Okay.
I'm going to continue scrolling down here. Just this is from location 2, again, the clean roof.
Yep.
It seems to be moving a little bit better. And here is the depiction of the antennas. Can everybody see that?
Yeah. So you got 3 different. You got like in the front, in the rear, and then the other side behind that. Correct?
That's correct. Two in each area.
In each area. Okay.
Let me continue down to 3. So this is the view from location 3. I seem to be moving a little bit better.
Yep.
There it is.
Okay.
Here are the 6 antennas.
Yep.
And almost there, the view from 4. Is the antennas. And as I mentioned, I don't know if you can see my arrow, but in the
Yeah, I
middle
see it.
there is where the equipment platform will be.
Okay.
That'll be surrounded by this obscure tape, so it looks like brick to match. Look like sort of a penthouse situation.
Okay.
We are proposing to use this technology called obscure tape. So the antennas themselves actually get wrapped in this reflective tape. So I provided the board with some information about what it does, but basically you can see in this instance, if you're looking at ground level and you look up, you're going to see a reflection based on the angle that you're at. So in this instance, it'll reflect the blue sky. If it was a cloudy day, there would be more white rather than, typical, we have white, grayish antennas. The blue sky, they tend to be a little bit more prominent. So this is just a technology we can use to, help, cut down on the visibility.
Yep.
As I mentioned, I hope you can still see my screen.
Yep.
So these are the radio frequency coverage maps that we provided, and I mentioned earlier at the beginning of my presentation.
Mhm.
So AT&T is striving to get to green.
Yep.
So the center, again, MA2543 is the rooftop that we're proposing, and you'll see
Right.
that we have some green, which is coming across the water here.
Yep.
With these 6 antennas, we'd be able to provide, AT&T would be able to provide the coverage that you see here in green, covering most of that orange.
Mm-hmm.
That's at the 700 frequency. At the 1900, which is a much smaller footprint, this is the existing 1900. You'll see we have a significant gaps where white, we have no coverage at all in the
Right.
1900. And this will be the coverage of the 1900 with the proposed rooftop and those 6 inches.
Nice.
So I did provide an emissions report to the board, which shows that we comply at least twofold with the FCC requirements relating to emissions.
Yep.
I'd be happy to go into any sort of further detail.
Yeah.
Happy to answer questions.
No, we're familiar with these type of systems. The only thing we do require, and we'll talk about this at the end, is a new set of drawings will come and it'll be tied to building steel. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
I do not.
The applicants?
I do.
Okay, you're up, Mr. Chin.
I do not have questions.
That's me, Charlie.
Oh, Charlie, go ahead.
Could I ask why they weren't mounted on the side of the building, instead put up on the roof? Just out of curiosity.
I think it's to get the additional height and the coverage. You have some buildings nearby that, if you take a look at Google Earth, you'll see there's a couple of buildings nearby that the signal itself doesn't penetrate. Anything that interferes with the signal, trees, buildings, brick, attenuate the signal. So the idea was to get up at least level with, the majority of the roofs and to get down those streets where we don't have coverage.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Himmel?
No questions.
Mr. Chin, Mr. Cabeas, any questions?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, we'll move on from there. Is there anyone like to speak in favor? Speak in favor?
Mr. Chairman, should I swear people in?
Yeah, I don't know who's going to speak first, though.
Okay.
If anyone wants to speak up. Huh?
Line about the virtual hand raise.
Yeah, the virtual hand raise, star 9, is it? Star 9, yeah. If you want to speak. Does anyone want to speak on this issue? No one? First call? Second call? John Himmel? Oh, John Rotafeld. John Rotafeld, you're up. John?
Muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, John, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I'll be quick. I'm against this. I just want to get on the record.
John, I asked you if you wanted to speak in favor.
Oh, well, I thought you were going to close it very quick. I wasn't sure if you were going to close it for both of them. I heard you
You've
going.
been to all these meetings, John. We do
Okay.
favor first, and then we
Okay,
come
I'm
back.
too early. I raised my hand too early.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Second call? Third call? Call that part of the hearing closed. I have a letter here from the DPW, September 1st, 2020, 3 Dorchester Street, case number ZBA 2047. Reviewed the above referenced project and have no comments. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? John Rutherford. You're up, John.
Thank you. I swear to tell the truth.
Well,
John-
we already know that.
Okay. John Rotafel, 62 Grand Wall Road, Quincy. I'm just gonna say I'm against this. I'll even give you even a good reason now. From looking at those maps, that only gave partial coverage to Squantum. I don't like the idea of high frequencies being beamed from such a low distance. All the traffic to the store. I mean, I really do not like that location at all. I don't trust any of those antennas. I certainly don't think we should have them that close where everyone has to drive by them so closely. They should be higher up in the air, further away from people. There's transformers that are going to be put. I mean,
22-9.
can I ask basically, is there going to be any power equipment that's going to be on the ground level, that's going to be outside, that's going to be included with this project, or is it just going to be antennas up on the roof?
The equipment and antennas are on the roof, John.
Okay, so, well, I just want to get on the record that in case it does give everyone in Squantum cancer that I was against it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else opposed or undecided? Second call. Raise your hand, star 9. Give me a wave, something. Charlie, we muted you for a second. You were talking. Is there anyone else? Third call? Call out part of the hearing closed. Miss, I'm gonna vote in favor. I just want it that everything on that roof will be tied to building steel, including the equipment, 2 frames or whatever they gotta do, the panels, 2 frames or whatever they have to do to tie that to building steel. So nothing goes away if we have a big storm. So I'll be voting in favor.
No ballast.
No ballast.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be voting in favor too.
Mr. Chin?
On condition that the revised plans do not change the location of the antennas, such that if you were to tie into the building steel and they brought those antennas out closer to the street or became more visible, I would want to know that.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, could I offer a comment?
sure.
I don't know, we would have to take a look and see how we can attach. So it's possible that we could bring steel over to the antennas and then attach that steel to the, steel under the roof. So it might make sense to let us have an opportunity to see what we can come up with
Yeah.
for design and then come back to the.
I'm telling you what we need, and what will happen is the inspector will read your new plan. If it don't work for us, we'll just tell you that's not gonna work for us. But you get a chance to look and see what you wanna do and what's feasible for the money you're gonna spend and how it's gonna work for you.
And if the building official is fine with us tying into the building, then we're all set.
Exactly, that's why we put it in there, and then they'll
Fair
look at, as long as it's tied into building steel, they'll be happy, we'll be happy, and everyone will be happy. And like he said, he just don't want to see those antennas going out any further. If anything, back in a little bit while you're doing it, if you have to, it'd be good. Mr. O'Brien
Yeah, no, I'll be voting in favor.
and Mr. Himmel.
Voting in favor, especially since you're going to have some new design anchoring the units.
Very good. Could I have a motion, please, Mr. Cabeas, with those 2 clauses?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Amendment number 20-47, new singular wireless PCS LLC, AT&T, for a special permit to install wireless communications facility consisting of a coloration of 6 panel antennas, 2 panels per sector, and associated equipment on the premises number 3 Dorchester Street. I make a motion to grant the special permit with the following conditions: that all the equipment will be attached to the steel frame of the building, or with steel, and that the locations are not going to change. If anything, they're going to go inside.
Second.
Seconded. We have a roll call vote, please.
Martin Akins?
Yes.
Michael Cabeas?
Yes.
Charlie O'Brien?
Yes.
Russell Chin?
Yes.
John Himmel?
Yes.
You guys are messing with me.
Further on to tonight's business, ZBA 2045. Charmian Thai loan for a variance finding to construct an ADA accessible ramp and improve access to the building premises number 799 Hancock Street. The applicant and a representative here.
My name is Jin Zhang. I'm with the RB Group. I'm representing my client, Tommy and Tui Wong.
Are you on a phone or are you on a computer? Because I can't see you.
I'm on my computer, but I don't have a webcam, sorry.
Oh, okay. No problem. You have the floor.
All right, thank you. So Mike Conlon actually brought this up to me when we were designing the plans in the first and second phase when we got our permit. He said we needed a ramp for the ADA accessibility.
Could you speak into the mic, please? I'm losing you a little bit.
We had to design a ramp for the ADA for code. So we did a couple of things, and when we found out that the side of the building going back to the back of the parking lot was the most non-intrusive way of the building, and then if someone that has is unable to use stairs, they will be able to use the ramp from the back where the parking lot will be, and then come up the side of the building where the second entry is.
Mm-hmm.
And we proposed add a addition out to the side to accommodate the size of the ramp and the entry into the building for the side.
And that's just a regular, what was that, 36-inch door, 42-inch, what is that?
Yep, there'll be a regular 36-inch door that swings outwards towards the landing of the ramp.
Okay. And is there any spaces going to be taken because of
I tried not to. I spoke with Chi. Chi said I would still have 5 spaces, so that's why we stretch it all the way towards the end.
Okay.
And the ramp itself right now is made for about 50 inches of 50 inch to 50 feet. That's how high the building sits for the first floor to the grade level, but we'll find out once we start. It might be less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Cabeas?
Do not.
Mr. O'Brien?
Not at this time.
Mr. Chin?
Oh, not yet.
Mr. Himmel?
No questions.
Okay, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this project? Anyone? Anyone? Second call?
No.
Anyone? Third call? Call that part of hearing closed. I have a letter here from the DPW, September 24, 2020, 790 Hancock Street, case number ZBA 2045. We've reviewed the submittal of the above referenced project and have no comments. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? Opposed or undecided? First call. Second call. Third call. Call up part of hearing closed. I'll be voting in favor.
I'll be voting in favor also, Mr. Chairman.
Likewise.
Chin?
One clarification. You mentioned Mr. Jung. There's a construction to the side of the building. You're referring to the back side of the building, correct? Not the sides of the building?
Nope, it'll be on the side where the ramp and landing will be attached to the building.
So will that be the side of the parking driveway or the other side?
Well, if you're looking at the building, it'll be your right side, not the driveway side.
Okay, thank you. I'm in favor.
Thank you. Mr. Himmel?
In favor.
Have a motion, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The matter number 20-45, Tommy and Ty Lung for a variance finding to construct an ADA accessible ramp to improve access to the building on the premises numbered 799 Hancock Street. I make a motion to grant the variance.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Martin Akins?
Yes.
Michael Cabeas?
Yes.
Charlie O'Brien?
Yes.
Russell Chin?
Yes.
John Himmel?
Yes.
Thank
Further
you.
on tonight's application, case number ZBA 2059, Catherine and Martin Lynch for variance and finding to demolish the existing front porch and rebuild wider and slightly higher porch on the premises number 50 Holback Road. Is the applicant and the representative here?
Yes.
Tricia?
Yes, I represent the owners of 50 Hobbemack Road.
Okay. You have the floor. Tell us what you want to do.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the Lynch family has lived for many years in Quincy and raised their children, and now their children are buying homes in the general vicinity of where they are, and the grandchildren. So because of the coronavirus, they are spending more time together at the Lynch household as a family, having dinners. They're going to be putting in a pool in the backyard. They're finding the house is getting a little small. So they would like to enlarge the house. And I'm going to switch now to the site plan.
So they're spending all the money they saved on vacations and rebuild the house, and there's a vacation home.
Right, exactly. All right. I'm trying to share this.
You're going to add like 2.9 feet in each side in the front and then raise the roof, correct?
Right, right. The existing porch structurally is all underneath is all rotted out. Somebody just put the posts on the soil.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, they want to take the wall down between the living room and the enclosed porch, widen the porch, infill the back behind the dining room in the backyard. There's a inside corner that's missing. They want to infill that.
That's
So-
only 4 or 5 feet. It's not much, correct?
Right, correct, yeah. And we're going to just raise the roof slightly. We're limited by the, I don't know if you can see that. That's the existing. We're limited by the second floor windows, how much higher we can raise that porch roof.
Right.
But it's very low ceiling in that porch roof now, so we've got to get it up a little bit higher and, rebuild it to code because it's 2x4s.
Right.
So really that's all they're asking for is the expansion on either side of the porch.
Right.
And
I think
into-
it looks nice clearing it off. I see he's got 17 seats in his dining room now for all the kids and
Yeah, and all the grandchildren, right?
there you go.
Yeah.
I think it's nice.
World's biggest dining room table.
Yeah, I think it's going to look nice. I really do. I think it's squaring the house off like that's a great idea, and it gives you more room. And then you take a more inside space too, using that as living space now. I don't have any questions, Mr. Cabeas.
I do not.
Mr. O'Brien,
No questions at this time.
Mr. Chen,
No questions.
Mr. Himmel.
No questions.
Okay. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor? Anyone want to speak in favor? First call. Council McCarthy.
Good evening, Chairman and Board. 100% in favor for the Lynches. As Patricia said, they've been in Quincy pretty much their whole life and Marymount for a long time, and their daughter's over on Wampatuck, so it all makes sense. And I think these minor moves are great to enlarge the home and keep the Lynches around for a little longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, and thanks for coming with us tonight. Is there anyone else want to speak in favor? Second call? Anyone? Third call? Call that part of the hearing closed. I have a letter here from the DPW, September 24, 2020, 50 Hobomark Road, case number GBA 2059. We reviewed the above reference project and have no comments. Anyone opposed or undecided? First call. Raise your hand and star 9. Second call. Third call closed. Mr. Cabeas, could I have a motion, please? Hold on. We found someone here. Where? Who? Mr. Dolan? Mr. Dolan, you all set? He stopped. He's all set. Okay. Maybe? Mr. Dolan? Okay. Can I have a motion, please, Mr. Cabeas?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Amendment number 20-59, Catherine and Martin Lynch for a variance finding to demolish the existing front porch and rebuild wider and slightly higher porch on the premises number 50 Hobomark Road. I make a motion to grant the variance.
Second.
On the motion, seeing none, have a roll vote?
Martin Akins?
Yes.
Mike Cabeas?
Yes.
Charlie O'Brien?
Yes.
Russell Chin?
Yes.
John Himmel?
Yes.
Thank you.
Further on to tonight's DBA 2061, Old Colony Development Equity Partners LLC for a special permit variance to raise and remove existing structures and construct a new 5-story, 40-unit, multifamily residential building with garage parking for 70 vehicles under the building on the premises number 129, 135 Old Colony Road. Old Colony Ave, I'm sorry. Is there, Council, are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Edward Fleming. I'm here on behalf of Old Colony Development Equity Partners, LLC. I'm actually working with co-counsel Henry Levin, who had been involved and has been involved with the family and the company for a number of years and was intimately involved in the preparation of this application that was filed before you tonight. And I'm assisting in the presentation of this matter with Mr. Levin and on behalf of John Chagnon, who is the manager of the LLC, that's the applicant. As you indicated, Mr. Chairman, the property is located at 125 and 135 Old Colony Ave in Wollaston. This project also includes a new parcel of land that was acquired between the two properties by Mr. Shagnon from the MBTA. The MBTA had taken at some point in time in the past a small section of land between these two parcels. After negotiation and discussion with the MBTA, they agreed to sell that parcel of land to the developer here for the purposes of moving forward with this matter. This property, like other properties in the area, are located in an industrial B zoning district, which, as you know, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, does not permit residential use. So when this matter was initially presented to the planning department, and this will need planning board approval through site plan review, the planning board directed the applicant to file with the zoning board of appeals first because of the industrial use of this property, or the zoning, I should say. With myself is Mr. John Shagnon of Old Colony Development, Equity Partners, Bradley, McKenzie, and Eric
Does she want me to?
of McKenzie Engineering Group, for the civil engineers on this matter, Stephen Devine of KFP Architects, who is the architect that prepared the plans. As part of this team also, although not with us tonight, is Mark Kopschel from MKA Landscaping Architects, and his plans speak for themselves in the landscaping on the site. I'd like to share my screen, if I may, Mr. Chairman, so that you don't have to look at my mug. And
what I'd like to do, though, I have one question about this first that I should have asked you once we went on. I see I got a form in here from DOT that needs signature. It was supposed to be August 14th that your property, you signed onto the property and gave them the deposit and everything's done. I don't have a copy of the signed signature that you own that property now. You have one?
I don't have that document. Mr. Levin actually worked very closely with the applicant on that matter. It was approved by the MBTA. They approved the sale and the conveyance. I'm not privy to or don't have those documents before me, but it's my understanding that everything has been finalized on behalf of the MBTA for this site is part of this plan. And we could certainly supplement the filing, Mr. Chairman, so that the board has a copy of that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you. So I'll share the screen if I may, and it just so that you'll be able to see. Did I share it? That's my question, right? What do I have to do? I'll share.
The pencil sharp, John. I love the guy. He didn't hear me.
There we go.
Here it comes.
Hey, look at that, huh?
Look at that.
I'm getting better and better at it, huh? Only so I have these plans available more for the other parts, the professionals on our team to go through as we make our presentation. But if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just kind of walk through a couple things. So first of all, as I indicated, Old Colony Development is the owner of the two parcels of land, 129 and 135, and recently acquired the additional parcel from the MBTA. The site plan is shown here, and you can see my mouse. The MBTA parcel is a small strip of land where the mouse is right here in the middle of the parcel, and that was acquired and made part of this site, as I indicated, approved by the MBTA. In total, the site is about 20,962 square feet, located in an industrial B zoning district. The properties presently are occupied by a two-family house on this property and a large commercial warehouse that occupies 135 Old Colony. Mr. Shagnon and his brother operated an industrial commercial a business from this site and owned that for the last 50 years. And it was a very active member of the Quincy community at that location. The reality is, however, this area, since they began operating from this site, has changed dramatically. The area all around has been redeveloped for residential uses. Even the building further down Old Colony was acquired by Eastern Nazarene College and converted from an industrial warehouse or commercial building to the use of an office building and school. There's a child center or a daycare center next door. Buildings across from the 180 Old Colony, which is the Eastern Nazarene building, which, as you know, will be the new Quincy School, was redeveloped for multifamily by condominiums, townhouse-style condominiums, and other sites around the site have also been redeveloped. As a result of that, this site is no longer really a favorable industrial site. It's very different from the uses around it. And Mr. Shagnon realized that it was no longer really well suited for that industrial use. He and his brother have closed their business, and they sold their business to another user. So the other user is moving the business outside the city, and as a result, the building became available for different use. And in looking at the other uses in the area, the close proximity of this property to the MBTA and the other residential properties around it, they thought that the highest and best use of this site became residential. It's not an abandonment of the commercial use. It's just it's part of the reality of the changes of this site. We know in the city we hate to lose these commercial uses, but in some locations they don't work anymore, and that's the case here. Before filing this application, however, Mr. Shagnon and his development team met with a number of different professionals throughout the city and city agencies, including the planning department. I know that McKenzie folks met with the DPW department to analyze the infrastructure that surrounded the site. The planning department had recommendations for the proposal that was presented to them. And that initial proposal included more than 50 units. It included full 5-story height. It included less parking than's being provided tonight. So let me, if I may, just walk you through the proposal, and then I'm going to turn this over to the professionals to talk about their specific intake into this proposal. First of all, the proposal is to remove the existing 2-family and the existing large commercial warehouse building and construct a new 5-story, 40-unit multifamily residential building, which will have 2 levels of parking under the building for garage parking, one on grade and one below grade, for a total of 70 parking spaces. So that equals 1.75 spaces per unit. And as you know, this is within walking distance of the T as well.
Yeah.
In addition to that, this property this residential building will include 32 2-bedroom units and 8 1-bedroom units. And calculating out the number of bedrooms, that's 72 bedrooms with 70 parking spaces. So almost essentially 1 space per bedroom, which again is consistent with other transit-oriented residential developments in the area, including others that have been constructed just recently in Quincy Center and down in North Quincy. When the development team met with the city, they stressed the importance of providing more parking, and it went from 1 space per unit, even 1.5 space per unit at one point in time, to 1.75. So that was really from the direction of the planning department to get to that number. In addition to that, the building was brought in away from the property lines as best it could. It needs to be built as it's structured, as it's shown on the plans today. However, because it houses the parking underneath the building, so it needs to have the appropriate size parking spaces under the building, and it needs to have the appropriate turning radiuses within the drive aisles. But they did the best they could to provide some landscaping around the site, and they hired MKA landscape architects to do a landscape plan, which is shown within this package of plans as well. Let me see if I can find it. But it shows that there is some level of parking of green space around the site. Sure, it's here somewhere. But I can't find I can't get to the plan right here.
Right now, the access to the MBTA, is that going to be roughly the same space, or is it going to be down the end now?
The easement that's been provided.
Yeah.
To the MBTA, now it's on the other end of the building, and it's similar space. They didn't. I think it was offered to them to actually convey them land. However, the MBTA decided that they would prefer an easement. Interestingly enough, Mr. Shagnon told me that for all the years that he was at the site, the MBTA never used it. I think
because they never fixed nothing.
Well, I think what happened at the end of the day is that they had other access available to them, that they no longer needed this access. But they want to maintain that, and that's been preserved here as well.
Down the end of the site.
Right, down the end of the site. The as I said, it's down this end, Mr. Akins, down here where there's more space between the building and the lot. There's a number of different provisions of relief that we're requesting here tonight. One is the most important in that it allows residential in a industrial zone, and therefore we're requesting a use variance from Section 3 in the table of use regulations, which allows for a residential use in industrial A. And as you know, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, you've granted this in a number of other sites. Most recently, the two sites down in North Quincy, across from the MBTA down in North Quincy, which were also industrial, and we're allowed to use that site for residential. We're also seeking, however, dimensional relief from the ordinance to allow for dimensional relief for FAR, building setback, to lay out the new residential building in the garage parking under. Interestingly enough, this site, as an industrial site, would allow 8 stories. And so as 5-story building, this is under the height that would be allowed in an industrial A zoning district. And Mr. Devine can talk about how he changed the way in which the height of this building looked as well by stepping back the building on the top levels so that it's smaller in size on the top levels, as you can see from this rendering here. And he did so, and by doing so, obviously they lost units, but it also provided an opportunity to create some style in the building, which she'll talk about in more detail. We also added a provision about parking regulations, but quite frankly, I don't believe we need any relief for parking. The industrial B zoning district does not provide for what's required for parking for residential, because residential is not allowed. But quite frankly, we think that 1.75 spaces really works, and we put a provision in there that we're asking the board to agree that 1.75 is a reasonable amount of parking. So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to turn this over to the other professionals that are with us tonight, just to briefly highlight the engineering-related matters and the architectural. So first, I'd like to ask Eric Schumacher to talk about the engineering from McKenzie.
Sure.
Eric?
Screen.
Hello. Sorry, I was muted there. So a little background on the site. Like Attorney Fleming said, we previously filed an approval not required plan, and it was endorsed by the planning board on September 9th. So this plan combines lots 5083, 2810, 135 Old Colony, 5083, 1026, 129 Old Colony, and a portion of the MBTA parcel located at 5083, 1027. to give them the 20-foot wide access easement. So would you mind switching to the existing conditions plan for me on the screen share? Right there. Yep. Thank you. So a little background about the site. It's located at what exists as 129 and 135 Old Colony Ave in Quincy. It is directly adjacent to the MBTA commuter rail tracks to the southwest, as well as Old Colony Ave to the northeast. The site is currently comprised of an existing industrial metalworking building at 135 Old Colony Ave. 129 Old Colony Ave is an existing residential building. There's developed commercial and industrial properties located directly to the northwest and southeast. So the site is located within the city of Quincy's Industrial B zoning district, and it's comprised of about a half acre, which generally slopes from a high point at elevation 29 up at the northern corner of the property down towards the train tracks for the most part. There is a low point located at the southern corner of the property at about elevation 23 as well. So moving on to our design plans, Plan C1. So we're planning on proposing a 5-story residential building totaling to approximately 84,267 gross floor area, with first floor and basement level parking, as we've discussed, and 70 parking spaces. As shown in our land usage tables, with the exception of side, front, rear setbacks, as well as the floor area ratio, we're complying with all zoning requirements for that industrial B zoning district. So this Plan C1 is basically showing the proposed building as well as some infrastructure outside of the building, which we are proposing, and some surface treatments such as landscape areas, permeable pavers, and some paved walkways. So we're proposing 2 curb cuts off of Old Colony Ave, the first one being 20 feet wide for access to the garage, another 10-foot wide access to that southeastern side of the property will be just to get back there to the dumpsters for the garbage trucks. The parking calculation table was assumed based on that adjacent residential zoning district. So that was residential B, so we thought that fit there. Moving on to Plan C2, speak to the grading and drainage. So our goal in designing the drainage system was to basically comply with all state and municipal regulations regarding runoff as well as peak rate attenuation. So we analyzed a drainage watershed area of that same half acre with some off-site tributary areas to the northwest where it's sloping onto our lots. Our design takes into consideration 2 design points, being Old Colony Avenue as well as the MBTA parcel, which the majority of runoff is divided into. So our goal is to, again, attenuate the peak rates of runoff in the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storms. By doing so, we designed a subsurface infiltration system with a weir drainage manhole to convey runoff at a regulated rate into the municipal storm drain system on Old Colony Ave. So this subsurface system takes half of the roof runoff, the half closest to Old Colony Ave, as well as a portion of the building where it kind of juts out into an L, and it transfers that runoff via a roof leader system into the subsurface system. All the remaining runoff and that hits the roof of the building as well as the side and rear yards just sheet flows onto MBTA commuter rail, similar to what it does now. The main difference being in our design that we are reducing flows of runoff to both that Old Colony Ave and the MBTA commuter rail. I'll go on to Plan C3 now, speak a little bit about the utility connections. So our utility plan just basically shows some connections on Old Colony Ave, pretty straightforward. We had a meeting about 2 years ago with a member of the DPW, and we spoke about these connections with him to get his input on the types of connections he wants out there in the street, as well as proposed sizings of the pipes. So basically, we're providing a connection for electric, telephone, and cable, as well as water services, both domestic and fire. We are also providing a connection to the municipal sewer. And like I said in the last sheet, we'll be connecting to that 18-inch drain on Old Colony Ave and putting some runoff in there at a reduced rate. They said that that connection could be made because it's fairly significantly sized pipe. So with that, I'll hand it over to the architect. That concludes the civil portion of this presentation.
Thank you. So Steve Devine is the architect, and Mr. Chairman and members of the board, as you know, this will undergo a very detailed review during site plan review, where it will be reviewed by an independent peer review entity as well, and additional, obviously additional DPW.
What's on the outside of the building?
I'll let Mr. Devine talk about the architectural. Let me just.
Steve Devine.
So Steve, are you there?
Mr. Devine, raise your hand.
I don't see him, Ed.
I don't either.
All right.
Does he have a screen name?
You know, I know that he didn't have access to a computer with a camera, so he was going to try to participate, I think, via phone. So I'm not sure how that worked, but let me walk you through. And Mr. Chairman, I think you can see from. Let me see if I can just get some of these.
I have a phone number here. I don't know what that is. Who that is? Huh? Oh. Someone's here with a phone number up here. We don't know if that's the architect or not. We unmute you. We ask you to unmute. No.
All right.
I can't find him, Ed.
Well, I'll walk you through, if I may.
Yep.
I'll walk you through some of the plans, and I'll go first to the architecturals. And I think the first architectural that was the rendering that we had up.
Wait a minute. We might have him here.
Okay.
Jay?
Yeah, he's with Jay, I believe.
All right. Jay, you there? Jay?
Wait for Jay.
Jay, you there? Unmute. All right, you're up, Jay. You're on with it. Go ahead.
You're on, Steve. Okay.
Can you see me?
We can hear you.
This
Go
is
ahead.
the architect. Can you see me?
Yeah, no, we do now. No, it didn't come up yet.
That was him.
Yeah, where'd he go?
All right, you're on, Steve.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Ed did a job of giving you an overall summary, so I'll try not to repeat what he's told you already and maybe drill down a little bit more on some of the particulars.
Steve,
So-
the chairman asked really just kind of a quick question about the materials that you're proposing to use on the exterior of the building. Maybe you could just touch on that first before you present the.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Will do. I think that's an excellent question. So one of the things we did when we were designing the building, you've got a 5-story building that's, on the street, and we wanted to do what we could to break the scale down, the size of the building into something that was consistent with the neighborhood. So you did that a couple different ways by using different material and also varying the massing of the building on the ends and such like that. One of the things you have over there is, Eastern Nazarene College has a number of brick buildings. So we felt, introducing some brick into the elevation of the building would be suitable. We also included brick at the base of the building, which, working with the planning board, we all felt was important to try to disguise the vehicles that are parked at the grade level. So there was, a method that we were trying to accomplish when we developed the elevations to disguise the cars and be compatible.
Did we lose you? We dropped
Yep.
you out. You dropped out? Mr. Fleming, what's he using beside brick on the building, you know? Mr. Fleming, are you there?
I'm sorry. I'd prefer that he was speaking. I was hoping that he was going to be able to kind of explain the materials that he was using.
He started to and he got kicked off. He's back. Wait a minute. Under what? There he is. Jay Noose. Jay, you there?
Hello?
Yeah, you're there. Go ahead. Get the brick.
Can you hear me? The architect here.
Yeah, we got you. Go ahead. You're up.
Where did I leave off?
So you used brick. What other materials were you using on the exterior?
Started with brick.
Did you hear anything I said?
Yeah, we
Did
heard
you hear anything
brick.
I said?
Yeah, I heard the brick. All the brick you wanted to do for Eastern Nazarene, and then you get cut off.
Okay, so, well, before I move on, we would pick a brick that's compatible with the brick on Eastern Nazarene College buildings in that area. I believe it's basically a red brick. Also, there are some residential buildings that have clapboards and such, and so we introduced some of that into our design. So we'd have a gray colored clapboard material, and also light gray fiber cement, white fiber cement trim, and we have a light gray standing seam metal roof with white fiber cement panels. So that's a summary of the kind of materials that we were looking to do to break up the scale and make it compatible with the buildings, down in that area on Old Colony.
All right, the total stories there. What's the total stories you have?
We have 6 stories, one of which is below grade, and the height is 59 feet above grade average.
All right, 6 stories and then 5 above grade. All right. All right.
Correct. And we kept the building below 60 feet so we don't fall into high-rise classifications on the building code, which is commonly done.
Yeah, how high is that?
I believe the floor to floor is about 11 foot. It's 59 feet above average grade.
59 feet above average grade. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So would you like to move on, or do you have
Yeah.
any questions about the exterior?
Is there any other questions from the board? Mr. Cabeas?
No, not now.
Mr. Chen?
Not yet.
Mr. O'Brien?
I have one for Eric.
Okay, go
Yes.
ahead.
My question is that you made a statement saying that the half of the site's going to drain to the T on this slope. Have you spoken to the T about that?
I'm not quite sure we have. We are reducing the runoff going to that MBTA parcel. So any sort of runoff that's going there now, we're reducing the flow either way. So we're leaving their lot in better condition than it is right now.
But to put drainage on a slope without a point, I think you might have a problem with that with them. So
Yeah, we're not putting any sort of drainage, we're not directing it there purposely. That's the way the ground slopes to begin with. So we're just leaving it how it is, and we're actually reducing the flow going there.
Well, what I'm saying to you is they may be looking for a more of a controlled area in there because they have difficulty with the water eroding their slopes over time.
Okay.
Just a heads up there, okay?
Thank you. Noted.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that Mr. Devine finished his presentation. If he wants to just walk through the floor plans really quickly, just so that.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. So, just drilling down on some additional complementary information about the building. The total gross square footage of the building is 84,627 square feet. 28,270 gross square feet consists of the garage areas, and the actual condition habitable building area is 55,997 gross square feet. As I mentioned before, it's 6 levels, 5 above grade. The first level is a on-grade parking with 1 level, a ramp going to a lower level. The lower level has 34 parking spaces. The upper level is 36 parking spaces. We include 10 compact spaces and 3 handicap accessible spaces in that. Total 40 units. As Ed mentioned, 32 are 2-bedroom, 8 1-bedroom. On the second and third floor level, there are 12 units each. And the fourth and fifth floor levels are 8 units each. On the fourth floor level, there's an owner's community room with a bathroom. It's a condominium, so they'll have some meetings and various things like that. So we incorporated that into the plan. Originally, we had a pitched roof on the building, but working with the planning office, they felt that it would be better to not make the building any higher than we need to. So we scaled that back. Originally, we had some tenant storage under the pitched roof, so that's gone away. Moving on, mentioned something about the owner's room, about 400 square feet. We talked about the exterior. If you want information like the floor area ratio is 2.6. And I think that about summarizes it. Oh, wait a minute, I can add this. The 1-bedroom unit ranges from 761 square feet to 846 square feet, and the 2-bedroom unit sizes range from 1,062 to 1,118 square feet. And we included some unit plans in our package that give some alternate layouts for each of the 1 and 2 bedrooms.
Thank you. Is there any questions of the board? Mr. Cabeas?
I have none at this time.
Mr. O'Brien?
Not at this time.
Mr. Chin?
This time.
Mr. Himmel?
Yeah, just one quick question. The gray area is the clapboard area, is that correct?
Correct,
Okay.
sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Fiber cement.
Yep. Okay. You all set, Mr. Fleming?
Yes, that's our presentation for these evenings.
Thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
there anyone that would like to speak in favor? Anyone like to speak in favor? First call? Second call? Anyone? John Motorfeld. In favor, John?
Yes,
You're up.
you got me.
You're up.
I saw Ed talking, so I knew I'd have time to shave. So,
You're still sworn in, buddy. You're still sworn in. Go ahead.
but I am in favor of this. The new John Rotafel is in favor of dense development near the T, and you can't get any closer to the T or any denser than this one. So I'd like to say that I like that they have the parking. You already approved that giant project on Warren Street. The only person I feel bad for is that poor guy that lives at 126 Old Colony. So if you're going to speak after this, I'm sorry, but your property's worth more today than it was a year ago. It's crazy what's happening with values. But anyway, I'm in favor of this project. This is good new growth, 40 units. I said this 2 weeks ago. This is 0.04%, so this is almost a percent. I think we're up to about like 5,000 units of the 10,000 that we need to build. So Attorney Fleming himself has brought in well over a couple of thousand of them. So thank you, Attorney Fleming, and I'm in favor of this project.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak in favor? Second call. Third call. All that part of the hearing closed. I have a letter here I'd like to read in to the DPW.
Oh, don't put me on the
Madam
screen.
Clerk, you're on.
We have reviewed the submittal for the above referenced project, and our comments are as follows. Drainage. 1. Submit a stormwater report explaining how the surface runoff will be disposed and treated. The report should include the 10 stormwater checklist and the maintenance plan for the proposed drainage structures. 2. Submit soil test reports for the proposed drainage system. 3. Provide oil and gas separator to collect all garage floor drains. 4. The proposed infiltration system violate the setback requirements for the building foundation and property lines. Water. 1. Perform water flow tests with the city's water department. 2. Use 6-inch pipe with the gate to tap into the city's mains and install 6-inch gate on the sidewalk before reducing to 4-inch pipe. 3. Provide one connection with the mains on the street and branch off for the domestic and fire services. Sewer. The existing pipes and manholes on the street should be inspected with television, pre and post development, in order to check the condition of the system. The television report shall be submitted to our office for assessment. General comments. 1. The project proposes to utilize municipal water and sewer infrastructure to serve the proposed project. Documentation relative to the condition, capacity, and adequacy of the existing infrastructure to serve the project has not been provided by the applicant. We request the applicant to submit documentation showing the condition of the infrastructure and sufficient capacity is available relative to the existing utilities. 2. Install stone or concrete survey monuments to delineate the property line on the public right-of-way. The monument shall be set by a professional land surveyor. 3. Provide plan and details for the erosion and sedimentation control during construction. 4. Repair all utility trenches in the public right-of-way with control density, fill infrared. 5. The developer proposes a tight building footprint from the city streets and abutter properties, including the MBTA rail lines. We request that the applicant clarify if temporary construction easement will be required in this area and to document that the excavations and constructions in proximity to the property line will not intercept the zone of influence associated with the MBTA rail lines. 6. The plans do not show the locations of stockpile and or staging areas for construction equipment and materials. Furthermore, the applicant has not addressed construction period traffic and parking impacts. The applicant should provide a detailed sequence of construction, specifically addressing any space constraints, and detail how they will be addressed as construction progresses. Number 7, the existing lots/parcels should be consolidated into one lot/parcel for development. The consolidation plan shall be recorded in the Registry of Deeds, Norfolk County.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anyone opposed or undecided? Karen Yee?
Gentlemen, yes. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Karen, can you stop a minute? Did you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
So the first point I'd like to make is something that Attorney Fleming stated, which was slightly misleading. He noted that 8 stories were allowed under industrial zoning A. As we all know, this property is not under industrial zoning A. It's under industrial zoning B.
Right.
The other thing I would know is I'm a property owner at 37 Newton Ave and have been so for over 25 years. And this property in question is less than 20 meters from my house. The design as proposed is greater than 3.5 times the current size of the existing industrial facility as well as residential property, which is a 2.5 or 2-story property. With respect to the Eastern Nazarene situation, Eastern Nazarene has been in our neighborhood for greater than 20 years, and they've been a wonderful neighbor. They've been very considerate with respect to snow removal, lawn and gardening, and as I think you all know, they've sold most of their property to the city of Quincy for a school for disabled children. So I think that the size of that property is a little bit misleading with respect to, again, the use as well as the property line. I also find it unnerving and disorienting that the conveyance of the deed from the MBTA is unable to be located, in particular from a safety and security perspective. I've not seen any results of any study that was conducted with respect to the security of the property by the city or the MBTA. And again, I'm considering the ability of one to inadvertently or purposely dispose of property from above the train tracks onto the train tracks. I also don't see the general 60-40 perspective and proportion of built space as opposed to green space that is normally required. I find the drainage situation particularly troublesome. And overall, I guess I would really like to ask the developers who have owned this property for over 50 years and who have needed to have a sign installed by the city to state the hours in which idling is required, since they clearly have no respect for the individuals that live in the neighborhood, which is why the idling of trucks needs to be stated on their outside fence, how they intend to preserve and respect our neighborhoods, given that they're looking to install a property that is absurdly out of proportion with anything in our neighborhood. And the likeness that Attorney Fleming makes to the North Quincy situation, where he likens it to a Panera and Applebee's and an MBTA station as opposed to a single family home that my husband and I reside in, is blatantly absurd.
Karen, can I get your address, please? I didn't hear your address.
Yes, it's 37 Newton Avenue. So we're about 20 meters towards the Hancock Street side of the proposed location.
Okay. Just for your information, industrial B, you can go 8 stories.
Very well. That's not as Attorney Fleming described the situation.
Yeah. All right. I just took it out of. I went to the dimensional regulations in case I thought I was 8, but.
Well,
okay.
That's helpful. Although I will say the property at 135 is a concrete brick building of 1 story, and the property at 129 is a wooden story of 2, perhaps 2.5 stories, depending on how the zoning counts an attic.
Yeah, half story.
So it's very much out of characteristic from our neighborhood. And again, as one knows, when you purchase a property that's non-conforming, the expectation is to allow the property to remain non-conforming. However, in order to expect more variance to be granted, one should allow for and expect that that brings some value to the neighborhood, of which I've not heard that stated. Lastly, with respect to the parking on the 32 units that are two bedrooms and the 8 units that are 1 bedroom.
Yep.
Again, I would also just provide for convenience's sake the fact that I own a single family home and my husband and I own 3 vehicles. And according to this calculation, we would be absurdly out of compliance with respect to underground parking in a neighborhood where one is expected to have a special needs school. So I don't really want to see the streets clogged with parking when one may need to have an ambulance to service those individuals at the school.
All right. You done, Karen? Okay. Take those notes. Did you get that 37 Newton Avenue?
I did, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Is there anyone else opposed or undecided? Second call? Third call? Other part of the hearing closed. You know, and I looked at this Old Colony Ave in the residential part of it, and I think it's I mean, the way the building's designed, it does look nice. I like the design. I think they did a great job. Is it tight? Yeah, it's tight. But I think it's a pretty building. And, you know, commercial space is being changed because there's not a lot of commercial space on side streets like that are used anymore. And no one can buy them for that because they don't have the business to go in there that's going to fit that. And, you know, and then you get the residential A over there too, around the corner, residential B, and it makes it tough. Someone to open a business in a residence. And, I know it's tough. I think it's a pretty building, and I will be voting in favor. A few things have to be done that you're going to have to do. And, you know, the drainage part, I think, like Mr. O'Brien said, you should look into that. You know, 3/4 of that roof going into the MBTA or 60% of it. I don't think they're going to be very happy about that. And I'll put a note on that for Mr. Duca to see if you guys had a conference talk about that and what we decide. Or what Mr. Duca decides to do, I should say, Commissioner Duca. Mr. Cabeas, comments?
The neighborhood is changing quite quickly, I think. I think it will improve the conditions there because right now it's not so great. I'll be voting in favor.
Mr. O'Brien?
Again, that side, the industrial uses of that side are quickly fading. I think that whole side of the street now is storage places, and you know that it's going to change. It is big, but I think today everything that they're building is big for whatever purposes they come for. I'd likely be voting in favor.
And you know what? It's like it's you know, it is tough. It is tough when you get a bigger building like that. But you know, the good thing I feel about this is going to be condominiums, so people are going to buy an interest in this. I wouldn't have been happy if it was apartment building. I wouldn't have. I would have bothered me. There would have been too many people, too many this, too many that. This now, I think people own a stake. You know, they're spending $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. They're going to put a stake in here. There's a stake involved, and they're going to make it nice and keep it nice. Where am I here, Mr. Chen?
Yes. You know, yes, it is going to be a change to the neighborhood, but I think that the developer has gone to pretty good lengths to try to make accommodations in terms of the size, in terms of the appearance, the number of parking spaces that will be available based on the number of bedrooms and units. Something worse could go in if it were kept industrial than the type of you know, improvement that is being proposed. I do think that it's a good use of the space. It's a good use of this particular piece of property. So I will be voting in favor.
Thank you. Mr. Hemmel?
I think it's a good use of the, you know, previously abandoned industry. I mean, if there's no industry left in the city, it's a condo. People have skin in the game. I think it's a good use. I think it's a good design. I think they've massaged it and played with this, and there's enough parking, I'll be voting in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Cabeas. With those, we have some three things that we have to put in there: the use variance, dimensional relief with the setback to parking too. Can I have a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. In matter 20-61, Oak Colony Development Equity Partners LLC for a special permit to raise and remove existing structures and construct a new 5-story, 40-unit multi-family residential building with garage parking for 70 vehicles under the building and the premises number 129 and 135 Oak Colony Avenue. I make a motion to grant the special permit on the condition that all the items that were in the DPW letter would be addressed.
Second.
Okay, hold it up there, guys. Hold it up here, guys, before we have a roll call. Karen Yee, I thought she hung up. She's got her hand up. I guess maybe her phone died. I don't know, but she's back up here. I was just notified that she got back online. I just want to let her finish speaking.
No, I'm not satisfied with this outcome. I find it
No one said
incredibly.
you have to be satisfied, but we thought.
I find it incredibly incoherent that it is allowed to have a property 3.5 times the size of the existing property with not even so much as the conveyance of the deed from the MBTA being voted on by this zoning board. I think that's irresponsible and irrefutably unresponsible.
They have to go to planning and they have to bring all that stuff. And he said the documents are all signed. They're all.
And he said lots of things which are not necessarily accurate and have not been fact checked. So I suggest, with all due recourse and in prudent manner, that we suspend this matter until such time as those documents are brought.
All right, is that it, Ms. Shee?
Yes, in that most conciliatory tone. It is.
Thank you very much. Now, that's over, and there was the motion here made and seconded, and I understand she's upset, and people do get upset over buildings, but as I told, Mr. Duke is going to make sure that all those papers are signed, and that the stuff with the MBTA, which I asked for, the dot signatures page has to be all done and everything before it even goes to planning. So I know you're going to be in planning pretty soon, so those documents will be brought up, correct?
Jim, and just for purposes of clarity, it's not a special permit. It's the variances from the use and the dimensional.
That's what I put on there.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you have those documents, you said, correct?
Yes, as I said, Mr.
Okay.
Levin worked with the MBTA.
All right, very good. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Martin Akins?
Yes.
Michael Coveas?
Yes.
Charlie O'Brien?
Yes.
Russell Chin?
Yes.
John Himmel?
Yes.
Thank you, John.
Can I have a motion to adjourn, please, Mr.
Mr.
Cabeas?
Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you very much.
On the motion, seeing none, roll call vote? Roll call vote? Roll call vote?
I just did it.
We need another one to end this meeting, Madam Clerk.
I will do that with a quick claim deed for that previous property. Martin Akins?
Yes.
Michael Coveas?
Yes.
Charlie O'Brien?
Yes, sir.
Russell Chin?
Yes.
John Himmel?
And we have the
Yes.
quick doc right here? Yes, we do.
Henry Levin always provides that.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Thanks, guys.
Good night, guys. Take care. Stay safe.
See you later.
Thank you.